this is such a good question, Armin. Such a good question, because as we talked about earlier, most voters display rational ignorance when they go down and vote, right? So how do they then vote? How do they pick the issues? Well, oftentimes they will pick the issues based on what we call expressive voting. That means they pick one issue that they're very angry about, as you're saying. It might be immigration, it might be the environment or climate change or whatever. If we take this analysis, so that creates certain problems, because when you do these issue voting, expressive voting, it's very hard for a government to actually interpret that, right? Okay, so you're worried about immigration, but how do you feel about the elderly or childcare or
right.
whatever, cancer treatment or whatever, right? Roads, I don't know, farm rules. You mentioned all this huge list of stuff that you have to think about, right? So, okay, so you're worried about the one thing. So that's the one problem. The other problem, which is exactly what you're talking about, it's so spot on, is that where do issue voting come from, right? What motivates that? And that is not motivated by love. It's motivated by hatred, right? Because when you think about it, I'm being very philosophical here, but people like from Adam Smith to Vernon Smith have commented on this a lot. Especially Vernon Smith, the Nobel laureate, has talked a lot about this. Is you can love relatively few people, right? Maybe like a handful of people. That's your close world, and then you have some people that you feel solidarity towards, your co-workers, schoolmates, maybe your neighbor. So people you would help without asking anything in return. You don't love them, but you like them and you share their world. Most of what you do, however, you do in a competitive world, right? When you go down shopping for bread, or whatever you do out in the world, right? So there's relatively little that can motivate you from love. That's what happens when you're family and so on. Most of what you're motivated for it comes from at least competition and maybe even social dislike of other groups, right? So you're not saying, I want to save the environment. You're saying, those truckers and farmers need to be punished for destroying the earth, right? So your argument becomes like that, and that drives some of this without a doubt, right? So people are very angry. The median voter is very angry, and they're frustrated about certain things.